Hello. Welcome to Outlaw Redemption, the podcast, a Western folk rock opera.
We're going to get that right one of these times.
One of these times, I'm going to get through it without stumbling.
It's because it's a huge thing and a lot of responsibility. You know what I mean?
It is. And it's weighing down on me. I'm your host, Bill Wardlow.
I'm RPG, Ronald Allen Cordy.
And so we're at chapter 2.
Chapter 2.
And
Oh, boy.
Long Descent into Hell.
Yeah, boy, does the story change from that beautiful day, a beautiful sunrise and cup of coffee on the porch with Charlie the Rooster welcoming him today.
Yeah.
Things changed drastically. I told
Yeah.
you, this is a story about having a dream, living the dream, and then the world happening.
Yeah. So Obi goes off to the Civil War.
Yeah, he goes off to the Civil War. I mean, didn't want to. I mean, got wife, kid, got to raise it, but, duty to God and country, right? He had to do what he thought was right, what they and everybody said was right, so he went off to fight a war, and boy, he did his part. He was a valiant soldier, and he fought led his group, and did many things, and then, war's it's sad. All of the great things a soldier may do involves a lot of death. So, it wears on a man, even though, you're saving you. I'm pretty sure you got to be that way. I've watched so much stories about wartime, Band of Brothers, all that. Them cats, look, they ain't playing hero. They know what they went through.
Yeah.
And it's,
And God bless them for doing it.
Yeah, God bless them, man. And they, I don't care who, if they a bullet never touched them, man, they come home wounded because, it's horrible to see that the world can be the way that it can and things, and that life means so little to some people, and the struggle is so. Anyways, so that's where we got our hero, and then eventually they think he's dead because he ends up getting captured. They can't find him, so our story is basically he's off and he goes to a camp, and his family has no idea he's even alive. The people at home have no idea he's alive. And he comes back home, and what's he find? Well, there was a little thing that happened at home. Because he was such a valiant warrior, that's cool for the winners, but when you're the valiant warrior on the loser's side, you're an extra special mean ass, a villain. So they used that against him. The carpetbaggers from up north, the people sent down south for the Reconstruction period, and the locals that stuck around and tried to be land hawks and tried to take land from this and that, well, he found out his wife had been kicked off their farm. The dream was gone, and when her son tried to stop him, they ended up shooting him because he tried to attack. So his son got killed, and he comes home. His wife's half crazy, and his kid and his other son, half neglected. They're living in an old slave shack and just getting by. And when old OB gets back, that was the last straw. He was already pretty much gone and been living in a prison camp. If you ever read any stories about that from the Civil War, man, being in a Civil War prison camp was deadlier than being in a battle, pretty much, and scary. Well, when you're a great guerrilla fighter, whatever, great war fighter like that, and you're at the end and you got to protect your own, and so that's what our hero did. He went back and took his vengeance. Well, it was actually vengeance more than at this point, but he went and took his vengeance. Yeah. And he killed all those people that did that to his wife and shot his boy, and the ones trying to steal the land by cooperating and taking advantage of situations and veterans and such. And he snapped, and he went off and did what he had to do, and that was the start of it. The world came in, smacked him, stole from him, cheated him, and he got mad, and he took his vengeance. And he let his anger, because at that point, there was nothing he was going to do that was going to change the scenario. Right. So instead, like many of us do, instead of getting the rationale, figuring out where we're at, and then moving from there,
he lashed out
and reacted, which... they sometimes say if you choose not to decide, you've made a choice. Well, sometimes if you react a certain way, you've chosen a path, whether you meant to choose it or not.
Right.
And that's kind of where he ended up here. He chose a path, and then he had more decisions to make. Do I turn myself in and say it's over, or do I but he's got this kid. He's got this wife who's tattered and torn, and so he decides he's going to take off, run, go west. Everybody's going out west. Redemption after the war can be found out west. New lives, whatever. But when you're on the run and you got nothing, and so he ends up having to feed, people still get hungry.
Wanted.
You're wanted. You're fugitive on the run. Eventually you end up stealing.
Yeah.
And stole his way, and which, of course, every time something, you do something, some little rumor starts, you leave a little trace of yourself. But eventually he decides he's got to get out west. And he goes out west, and he ends up getting himself a job becomes a hired gun for a prairie town baron, a little muscle in town, that kind of thing, maybe doing a few things here and there. Not afraid to do his outlaw stuff, because now at this point he's already beyond redemption in his own mind. And this is what he's in survival mode. And he's pretty pissed off at the whole world because it wasn't fair, and his dream is gone, and he don't remember the Lord that he used to talk to, and all of that kind of stuff. That's just all, like many of us, woe is me, we forget that we were blessed, and that doesn't mean the woe is me isn't tough, because it is. And some things are just hard, man. You don't understand things sometimes, and some things, and definitely the one thing is the world is not the Lord. I know that much, and I had to figure that out. It ain't the Lord being unfair to me. It's the world that's unfair to me sometimes. Sometimes I'm unfair to the world. You know what I mean? Sometimes
Absolutely.
I'm the cause of it. And but many of us, we react. We react. We don't think and take action. One of the things I learned in all those years of working in with recovery and things like that, and the AA groups and things like that I've been in, and talk about pause.
So, just real quick, but before you move on, I don't think we've discussed it here.
Well, I told you I worked with homeless. I think in the first episode, I worked with some homeless people and
right.
Addiction.
Would you mind touching on how you ended up working?
Oh, well, I had
with
my
them
own problems. I went through a lot. The world was tough on me, man. My company closed. I lost my house. My brother died. There are things, there are reasons, they really did happen, but I reacted to them, and I really got despaired, man, and I didn't really give a crap. And I'm a very live person, you know what I mean? I really, I used to try to have a lot of fun, a very adventurous person, but I started having my own physical problems, couldn't walk, my hips were gone, and after a while, I just didn't really want to be alive anymore. I despaired that much. And so I went through all that. And then I went to a street ministry and went to many groups. But that was where I ended up staying. And I worked at a place called Sugar Tree Ministries. I actually went there and went to their groups, and then ended up becoming one of the people that ran the groups. And years later, and then I got involved in all the other things we did. We have a soup kitchen. We have a drop-in shelter. We had a music ministry, a coffee shop. We did a lot of things, but I did recovery. That was what I did. And I remember I didn't play music for 2 years. I don't know if I ever told you that. Mm-mm. When I started there, I put music down because I knew they did music there, and someone said, "Oh, no wonder you're going down there. They do music." And I went, "Is that why I'm here?"
Right.
And I said, "Well, I'll show you it ain't why I'm here. I'm not going to." And I didn't pick a guitar up for 2 years. Just wouldn't do it because I needed to do what I needed to do to get right and figure out where I was at, because I was lost.
Right.
And and then I got into that, and I wanted to help people because I got given
your way. So I just wanted to point out it's a real.
All of these things are things that I've seen in this whole ministry that I got to work in.
It's a real success story.
Yeah, well, and it's a real life story.
Right.
It's the whole thing at work at that. So there are many songs on there. There are themes through this whole album. Like I just talked about this, his anger got to him. Well, see, man, those kind of rage, sometimes those are generational. They get passed on.
Right.
There's
And we'll see that later here in the story.
And I mean, you just got to think about that in life. So that's one of the things. I mean, I try to touch on many of these. You'll find them throughout this story. I'll talk about and here's the thing. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah.
The same. I heard Billy Graham once said this, and, it's crazy. He preached like millions of people, and it's not even about being a fan. Here's what he did say. He goes, it doesn't matter who says it, sometimes it's truth. And he goes, man, there ain't no new sins. Everybody thinks all these newfangled sins. There ain't no new sins. They're just the same old ones done a different way. There don't have to be no new sins. The old ones are doing just fine. Yeah. Something to that's paraphrasing.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, the same things. So the more that things changes, the more they stay the same. The challenge of the day, you can change the details, but the nature of it stays the same. And so that is what I wanted to bring out in this album. And this is where it starts. The world hit, circumstances, rage, anger, the feeling that we have to take care of, the feeling that we got cheated. All these things are the same stuff.
Right.
Didn't matter if it's 1865 at this time, because that's where we're at, 1865. We advance it 4 years, and or if it's 2000.
Yeah, let's touch on that real quick. So, he wasn't gone for a minute. It was 4 years.
It was 4 years from 1861 to 1865.
So he come back and everything
changed.
Everything was gone, and
kids, kids half starved.
He had a dead child.
Yeah. His family, his wife, Mary Elizabeth, and he had two sons, Levi and Hezekiah.
Yeah.
And Levi was the oldest one, and he's the one that got shot.
Yeah.
He got shot for trying to defend his mom and stop them from taking their farm.
So you come back from 4 years worth of war to find all this.
Yeah, your wife's got a big old bash on her face.
He just lost it and killed everyone.
Killed them all. That was his solution. I'll just kill them all.
Yeah.
And then he realized instead of taking care of his family, he put him in a worse place.
Yeah. So then he had to take off.
Desperate.
So that leads us into Long Descent into Hell.
Yeah. Which
is probably the most rocking song on the record.
So yeah, in that narration, like I said, we had Mike Moeller on that. Let's go back. Let's not lift. I played classical guitar. Okay. Mike Moeller came in and played banjo.
The Victrola playing in the background.
It's the Victrola effects upon everything. And then this where the first appearance of, not the first, but cello. This cello on this is really soulful and deep. And it feels like the weight of the world is definitely.
It does. It really does. It really sets the mood for that part of the story.
So what's real cool is working with these guys. It was like, so I'm describing, this is how we worked. I would say, here's the scene, here's what's happening, and this is what they feel like. So this is what I want this to sound like. So, and they all really enjoyed that approach because it made the music come to life as they were doing it, and they found their place. And like I said, so many things came together. I really feel like it was that we had some kind of supernatural help doing this stuff because, I mean, it was crazy how you're like, dude, I couldn't have wrote that any better. You just did what I was saying.
Right.
And that was pretty neat. And then we go into Long Descent.
It's pretty magical when all that stuff comes together like that.
But then we come into the song Long Descent into Hell. That's this fall apart from the beginning of the war, these 4 years that we're describing, and then a little bit past those 4 years, because when he makes it and his journey out west to become basically an outlaw and hired guns.
So again, probably the most rocking song on the record.
It is definitely a rocking.
And it starts off with Jake just ripping it up on the lap steel.
Yeah, there's quite a lead
into the song.
I really like Jake's work on the lap steel on this. I mean, like I said, all of these songs that we're going to be talking about up until the very last one. Now, the story song, we had Kendall and Tucker on all of them, and Jake. They kind of either shared Kendall because Kendall plays bass, and Kendall Shelton, and she did a wonderful job on all of them. But then we used
Talk about someone who done their homework.
Yeah,
she come in here and knew what key she was in on every song, and.
Yeah, boys, the girl shamed you. I'm just saying. No, I'm just kidding. She did. She
knew exactly what was going on when she come in, and had parts written, but we didn't necessarily use everything that she had done. I hit her up several times to go, well, what if you played it more like this? And she was just game for it. She jumped right in and was like, oh, okay.
Full disclosure, Bill's a bass player too. It was. See, that's the kind of thing, and that's kind of cooperation. She'd be like, it was really cool because it wasn't like what. It was like, oh
she
yeah,
was just straight open to it. And,
Yeah.
and it wasn't a criticism, and she realized that it was just
No.
let's try this a
yeah,
different
because
way.
we're doing these different. Yeah, and we had multiple. It's that whole thing. There was nothing was ever wrong. It was like, do we want it this way, or do we want it that way, or do we want it that way, kind
Right.
of thing. And that was, again, due to homework and to being open and working on a project together, like a greater vision. I'm telling you guys, every one of these guys very quickly learn, and Bill's not going to say this because he's a humble guy, but we weren't here working with him very long. We get in the first couple, and Bill would do a couple things, and then everybody be like, oh, all right, we're going to do what Bill says, because he knows what he's looking for, or he knows what to get down to see if that's what he's looking for. Because sometimes you need to know you need to get a bunch of stuff to find
knew
what
you wanted.
I did know what I wanted,
And
pretty much.
You were good at communicating that.
I know, I was a little theatrical.
I come in just trying. Yes, you're a little theatrical.
I'm a little theatrical. I was acting scenes out, I promise you, right
Yes.
here. Setting them up and doing the characters,
Yes, I had a good grasp on things by this point.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I lost my train of thought there.
Yeah.
Oh, so you had explained well what you wanted.
Yeah.
I was just trying to get what you wanted.
Yeah, well, that's what I
And-
said, how to get there. That's what you need to know.
Yeah, it's
Even when you know what you want and what you're going to do.
and how
you
to
need-
get there is different with everybody who comes in. It's not.
Yeah.
You
I agree with
can't.
that.
You can't do it. You're not going to get there the same way working with this person as you do with working with this person. You've got to learn that person very quickly and how to get them to do what you want them to do.
I think it had a lot to do because I sit right next to the Grateful Dead wall tapestry too, and I get energy from Jerry.
Yeah,
Jerry inspires me
that
to
could
this.
be.
It
That
is.
could be the case.
I think Jerry
Through
came
the recording of that, we also had a picture of Jerry hanging
We
on
did.
the wall.
Jerry was up on the wall, and he's in most of the pictures. And
Yeah. Since then, we've had to
think it
remove
was his-
Jerry because we ran out of room.
I don't know if
but-
it was his Grateful Dead inspiration or if it was his New Riders.
Yeah,
New Riders inspiration was coming through.
that could be.
Yeah, I think we had New Riders of the Purple Sage inspiration in the room. I love Jerry. I love the Dead.
So
love
yeah, so back to the
Yeah.
song. We had Kendall and Tucker
Yep.
come in, laid bass and guitar on that.
Of course, Mason Denver Thomas laying down beats for us,
Yeah,
and us, and you. Bill did secondary. Like I said, you did secondary.
I did egg and tambourine, maracas, things like that throughout the whole record.
Yeah, I think you. I think we had a
timing
snare.
instruments.
I think we snapped in some snare here because of the
Yeah,
and
I think we
and
did
some
that
kick.
later on because it didn't have
snap,
yeah.
snap and drive.
Yeah, there was some drive missing out of it.
I mean, it had like a good.
I think we ended up doing
It's funny the
like
djembe
a
gets like a
cajon
lot
and
of.
like a cajon
Remember,
as a kick
I
drum.
I brought that snare in too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it was like, so yeah, there was a lot of movement in the song, right? I mean, it was like the engine's running and we're cruising down the highway, but it was like cruise control, moving really fast. But what we wanted to add was just a little extra drive in with the speed that we had established. We wanted some power drive into it because, I mean, this is called the long descent into hell, but I mean, it's like a fall. I mean, you're accelerating as you're pushing. I mean, everything continues in this, like, it starts here and then there's anger burst and then this, and it's like the more trouble you're created, the harder that you run.
Yeah.
And the harder that you run, the more that you're driving, but you're driving yourself to hell. Eventually you're going to land and you're just driving harder and harder as you're running from your troubles. He's just driving himself further into his troubles.
And so Michael Moeller laid some banjo on this, and it really set the song. I think we had some back and forth about that, whether to...
No, actually it was pretty... I told you, I said, I remember telling you, I said, my idea for this song was to be a bluegrass blues song. I wanted kind of a bluesy the chord progression's sort of a blues progression, but I wanted to kind of do it, and even the way I did my voice, I kind of wanted to sound Appalachian. So, like a little bit of bluegrass, and the I'm doing this little hey kind of thing that I hear a lot in some of that mountain music. And then when Mike and the thought that we had a banjo, because this wasn't conceived, the idea of what I wanted to song, but I didn't have the banjo locked in. Yeah, because my idea, I started out with a harmonica player, Gary D. Weber. He's a fine player, but he happened to go out on the road and started touring on the road right when we started recording this. So that was another kind of like move on the fly. We had to change our ideas, and we were open, and it's like, man, we don't have harmonica, but whoa, I've got a mandolin and a banjo player. And as soon as we laid that band, I was like, why wasn't that my first thought?
Right.
Because I was going for bluegrass. And it's like, dude, hello.
It worked out really well. I don't know that it has a bluegrass feel. I don't get that sense from it.
Well, that was it was.
But I love the banjo added into it because it doesn't really fit.
Yeah.
But it does.
That's like I said. It was a bit of, in my mind when I made it, and I built like I said, a fusion song that was kind of like rock and roll, blues, rock and roll, kind of driving, and then this Appalachian thing going on, this bluegrassy thing, with the. I just used to love the way those old folks from the mountains used to, like the old Brother Will That or Art Thou songs and things like that, where they pop out and there's like, that dude doesn't really sing great, but I love the way he sings.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not and there's something.
So I feel
familiar.
that way about Old Crow Medicine Show. Yeah. I don't think either one of those guys have great voices, but together the harmonies are so good.
Yeah, you're like, this is what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly.
You think this is what it is, and you do that, and it doesn't ever match up. And you're like, why isn't this?
Yeah,
because it's not that, and that's what's fabulous. The little off in it is what it makes it unique, awesome, and perfect.
Right.
And say this is what fits and this is funny. This is how me and Bill talk all the time when we're actually deciding what we're going to do. This is the kind of stuff we talk about. And I can tell you the level of, it is so cool to work on stuff after just writing and then actually producing this stuff out and deciding where we're going and what we're saying. Because I think there's not just a story, but sometimes there's secondary things. Like I said, a song moving along is great and that shows movement, but I want to drive. So the music's got to say drive. It's got to, I'm on a long, it's got to, there's a relation sometimes with words and actually what the music are doing. And sometimes you need the music to say exactly what the word means that you use, you want, and so those are the little subtleties that happen that, I don't know what, if everyone does that or not, but I think that's what, when I listen, when I've talked to you, Bill, about when I listen to stuff, I bring out what they did there and what I think they did and what I interpreted as other people's music that we've talked about. You said,
right.
Say, yeah, man, it's like this. That's like that door opening right there. And they're like, what? Like, yeah, a door. Don't you see the door? Don't you feel the door? I mean, the music's saying there's a door that's opening. And they're like, wow, I never really thought. And I'm like, yeah, I hear it. I hear that door opening in the song. And then he just said the door opened. That was your clue.
Right.
Or describing what's over on the other side of a door, a new scene, which obviously be like walking through a door. And I think that's another level of like writing. And you can't always accomplish that doing acoustic, which is the maddening thing. I mean, I love playing. I just love playing with my friends more. But I mean, I love sometimes just sitting down and going raw on songs and trying my best to sound as good and finger pick or do whatever my guitar part is and fill it all up. But man, when you got all these other things, then you can really get intentional about what you want the song, the music to say. Right. Not just the words, but the music itself. And then when you can combine that with words, then man, you really got, at least to me, you really got something.
Absolutely. So I just want to hit one more time before we move on and listen to chapter and song. I just want to reiterate, Jake just tore this song
Dude,
up. It's
the leads
really
are.
good.
I mean, seriously, it's hard to talk about it because I don't ever want to sound like some douchebag that's like so self-involved.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is so good, and I feel like somehow I didn't have. I picked up a lottery ticket and said, "Hey, can you run this through the machine?" And because I'd really be really cool if it was a winner. And it's like, dude, it's the jackpot.
Right.
That's how this project came out. And I know, like I said, I have not the hubris to think it's because I'm some incredible genius or something like that. It's because the people got together and they are so good. And they understood what I was trying to say, and they made it come to life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was far beyond.
This particular piece I kept coming back to and listening and just going, wow.
Yeah.
He really nailed that.
He's got a couple really bright spots in this album, but this might be the brightest of them. I don't know. The lead in song 7, spoiler, but that's a combo. It's because of the collabo.
Yeah.
And I don't know where he came up with this intro. He said we were clicking it off.
We worked on it for a while. Actually,
we were clicking it off, and he said, "Hold on," and we didn't, And then he's like, "All right, start it." And then all of a sudden, before the 4 beats or the 4 measures clicked off, because we usually do like 4 measures before we start, he's in measure 3 clicking off, and all of a sudden, or just started measure 4, and then all of a sudden he just starts playing before the music started, and I went, and it was like,
I remember the look on your face,
I was like, wait, whoa! I thought he started. I was going to say he started early, and I didn't. I stopped myself because I thought he missed the. I thought he stopped it, and Bill was just going to hit the button and. Dude, space bar back. That's, yeah, I thought it was going to be one of those, and then and then it happened, and it was like, you know how you're in the motion, thinking you got to stop something because you were in stop mode, and you realize I'm getting ready to stop something that should not be stopped, and I'm the wrong one, and I don't know what's going on, and I was like, oh my goodness, and it hit, and this last. It sounded, I mean, it was only a measure. But for a musician and caught in that moment, that was like a mini 30 seconds of, this is wrong. He's starting wrong. What the heck is going on? Hey, man, that's pretty cool. Oh, my God. And then what am I? Stop yourself before you say anything. In a matter of 3 seconds, I went through all of that.
Yeah.
Because I was about to blow it up. I remember that because I was like, he messed up.
I remember seeing the look on your face.
I thought he messed up because he started early. And it was like, no, he was doing an intro. See, that's another thing I learned about working. I've always been a solo artist that had some people that come along and accompanied. And this was an intentional trying to write a group project. So learning about that, which is helping us again on these endeavors we got going forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
Having intention and knowing, hey, it's okay. I don't have to count. I don't have to start every song.
Right.
Which is a whole different thing you have from being acoustic. If you're an acoustic artist, singer-songwriter, if you don't start the song, it don't start.
Right. Right.
You just sit up there
it's all up to you.
Yeah, you look stupid. You're sitting there in a chair on a stool with a guitar, looking at the audience, waiting for something to happen. You know, so you got to make it happen. And then all of a sudden, now you're in something. It's like last night, man. When we were playing last night, Bill and I actually played together in a show last night. He played bass, and we got one song. Man, he starts it off. Starts running this little bass run, and it is. I can just tell you, man. It is like there's this anticipation when a song is ready to kick off and you're starting it, and you like try to pop it at exactly the right time. And then all of a sudden, here it is, and all you got to do is just jump in there and start playing. Yeah. That's very nice. And that song has a particularly edgy start on it for me by myself because the tempo is determined by your first 2 moves, and you're not in the song yet. Yeah. So I really appreciate it. And that's the thing I learned it's things that we learned on this album. That's why it's pertinent to what, like last night's performance and what we did last night's performance were a development and ability to do it was a development of things I learned in this album, particularly starting right here. This was the first one that I ran into, Jake, with that lead in. So, yeah, give yourself an extra good listen to the, not to ruin you like we are and tearing everything apart into little pieces to devour bite by bite, but Jake's lead is not just the opening one, but all of them. That's just it's a real shining
he
spot.
really did a great job on.
Everyone
this
did,
song.
of course,
Yes,
but yeah.
yeah. Okay, so here it is.
Well, let's give her a listen, man.
Chapter 2 and Long Descending in Hell.
Let's see what OB's got himself into now. Well, as often happens, just when things seem to be going good, so a world has its own plans. Like I said, the spring of 1861, the shattering of this perfect place and time. Old OB did what he felt was his duty to God and country, and he left his family with all he could for their care, and he left to join the fray. 4 years of brothers killing brothers, a nation fractured, leaving so much destruction and hardship in its wake. And when he returned home, a broken man, all he found was strangers running his county. His farm was confiscated. His son that was killed. Another neglected. And a wife with a shattered mind. Sometimes things are more than a man can bear. But old OB, he just took all he could take. And then he decided to take all that he learned in that war and turned it into his wrath on those that harmed his family, those carpetbaggers and turncoat profiteers. Well, his eruption didn't change a thing about the past, but it sure changed the road that he was on. A wanted man, a fugitive, an outlaw with a family on the run. running so hard, taking all that I could. If I could find my way, well, you know I would. Running so fast, which way, you know I can't tell. This long descent into hell. This long descent into hell. This long descent. Into hell.